Good morning, afternoon, or evening, however it is you are joining me today. I am Craig Bowden, and I am your Marine Vet for Freedom. It's been a little bit since I've been able to get online and talk with y'all. It's been kind of difficult getting some technology in order and everything, so that's why I haven't been on here for quite some time. I do apologize, but we do have things back in order. So, the title of this show today is Being a Government for the People. Now, this can take on a lot of meanings for a lot of different people. Some of them, it's about just doing good for another person, the social welfare programs, things like that. And for me, it's a little bit different. Now, when I think about a government for the people, what I'm thinking about is a government that is responsive to you. Now, one of the things that I've noticed a lot as I've interacted with various politicians throughout my time, be it through email, writing, calling, and occasionally even the face-to-face, is that generally it's really, really hard for you to get in touch with your representative or your senator. So how do we end up having a government for the people, one that will actually work for you? Well, there are a couple of things that we can do, and there are a couple of things that I will be asking for when I'm elected to the House of Representatives. Now, one of those things that a representative or senator can do is, one, when you're on recess, hold a town hall. You should be hitting town halls in your area, whether you're a congressman in your district or whether you're a senator throughout the state. You need to be interactive with your constituents. You need to be on hand to be able to answer questions and address concerns that the people you are representing have. Now, one of the things that I think would work to help benefit is right now, other than the recess, there isn't really a set schedule for Congress. They kind of get to come and go as they will. And they'll miss, key votes, because they're back home, whatever have you. And so one of the things I would like to see is actually, a schedule. And the schedule could be really, really simple. Say we take a 1-month block. So you have 4 weeks. So we'll say that 2 of those weeks, the Senate and the House are in session to get laws passed. Okay, now after that, you have a week where they can actually go and meet with their constituency, go and actually talk face-to-face with the people whose lives are being impacted by the laws and get their feedback. Then what they do with that remaining week of the month is that's split up for the travel time, because it does take a little bit of time to get from Washington, D.C. back to their homes. So you need to allow them the time to be able to transit home and then get back to Washington, D.C. after they've collected the information from their constituency, after they've been able to address those concerns. See, what I've been noticing is that Washington, D.C. is almost like an island that's insulated from the rest of America. And by doing this, it actually puts our congressmen and senators right back to the people that elected them. They're not constantly in the halls of Congress. They actually have to go back home, and they need to interact with the people. And to me, I'd even put a provision that if you're not having these town halls, you're not sitting there and meeting with your constituency, you don't get paid. Now, it may be a pipe dream, but it's something that I would honestly like to see happen. I would love to see the uniformity where all the senators and all the congressmen are located at the same time so that they can get those votes and work on the issues. And then they're also out home at the same time. Now, another thing that I'd like to do, and I'd like to see, is less time spent on a campaign. Because a lot of what I've seen when it comes to members of the House and Senate is they spend about 50% of their time on the campaign trail instead of doing their job. Whether that's making phone calls, whether that's, being there for the ads that they're making, whether it's, doing the stump speeches and things like that. They spend a lot of time campaigning to continue to hold office. I think that there should be an allotted amount of time for them to go ahead and defend themselves on their records, say a month allotted time before the election that they get to spend actually campaigning. And the rest of the year needs to be spent working for the people that they represent. Now, when you actually go from that, I think that, you're going to see a little bit more trust in the government. Because the people can see that not only are they coming home to spend time with them, they're not spending a lot of time campaigning. They're there working. They're doing the job that they were sent to do. And that'll help kind of build a little bit of trust back in the government and between the American people and the government. If you've noticed, it doesn't matter what news source you go to, the approval rating for our government is very, very low. And that there are ways that it can be brought up. And part of it is just doing your job. Now, how else can we be a government for the people? Well, another idea that I've had is there's a really large disconnect. Okay, President Obama has talked about this income inequality for quite some time, without addressing the fact that the majority of those in Washington, D.C. who work for the federal government or that are elected representatives make anywhere from 3 to 4 times what the average American makes. When you look at the congressional salaries, just on that alone, we'll just kind of focus on that for a moment, that there's a very large gap. Now, do I think that congressmen and senators should be compensated for their time and for the job they're doing because it is a higher level executive position? I do believe that they should be compensated. Do I think that the average should be $172,000 a year? No. One of the things that I would like to propose would be to actually scale back congressional salaries. Now, granted, they do have to have homes in 2 different states, so that's why another reason they need a little bit higher than what the average American makes. They are maintaining 2 households, and unfortunately the cost of living in Washington, D.C. is a little bit higher. However, I do not believe that any senator or any congressman should be making more than about $90,000 a year. Now, this does a couple of things. One, it puts us on more equal footing with the American people. And 2, what it does is it helps bring the budget into a more balanced way. Now, obviously, just cutting the salaries isn't enough to get that budget balanced and, move forward and getting our fiscal situation taken care of. However, it does help. So I'd like to see members of the House and members of the Senate making no more than $90,000 a year. I would also like to have an option for congressmen and senators who are considered independently wealthy to opt out of receiving a salary. And that would go further into making sure that we are in a more fiscally sane position. So when you have the Nancy Pelosi's who are independently wealthy, the Dianne Feinsteins who are independently wealthy, the myriad of senators and representatives who have millions upon millions of dollars from their businesses, their investments, things like that, they're perfectly capable of operating without any money. And since you are operating in an office of public trust, when you're independently wealthy and you still take a salary, that says a lot. Now, I may not have agreed with a lot of Mitt Romney's positions when he was running in the 2012 presidential election, but one thing I will congratulate him on is because he was independently wealthy, he chose not to take a salary when he served in the public trust as the governor of Massachusetts. So, when you look at that, that is very admirable. And I think that we should have the options available for members of the House and Senate who are independently wealthy to show the true measure of where they are. Are they actually willing to help the American people? Are they willing to have that level of trust? Will they work for you without being paid? Now, one of the things that I personally would like to do is, after I get my fiscal situation in order, figure out my finances with having 2 houses and everything, once I find out what my cost of living is, everything above that, I'm going to be donating to Utah charities until I can get these laws passed. I believe that every single congressman and senator should join me in this effort. I think that it would make a lot of headway, and it would show that we actually do care about the American people. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, or in my case, an independent. You do so much more through actions than you do through just saying that you care. Because I've seen it time and time again where a Republican or a Democrat will sit there and say that they care so much, that they're going to do so much for the American people, this, that, and the other. But when it comes down to it, where is the action? Now, finally, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about one more thing I have about being a government for the people. And that has to do with the congressional pensions. Now, for those of you who don't know, basically the way that it goes is, it's like any other 401k. You provide a portion of your salary, and then your employer provides matching contributions up to a certain percentage level. Now, who are the employers when it comes to the elected body of the government? Well, the employers would happen to be you, those of you who are listening. Now, it seems to me that it's just inherently wrong for a body of elected officials to vote themselves a pension plan that you end up on the hook for. I personally will not be participating once I'm elected, because I don't think that it's your responsibility to fund my retirement. Now, if a private business wants to do that, and they want to match their employees' contributions, that's fine. But that is not something that a member of the House or Senate should be asking the American people to do. And considering that most of them are independently wealthy, they should be receiving no pension whatsoever from the American people. Not only does there need to be an opt-out option until I can get this figured out and work with other senators and congressmen, but it also needs to be totally eliminated. This pension plan is morally wrong. When you are holding an office of public trust, how is it acceptable that you get to take money from the people you represent to pay for your retirement after you leave? That's not acceptable. And that's why I would ask every single member of the House and Senate to join me in being responsible in bringing trust back to the offices that they hold. And part of that is not taking from the American people for their own self-interests. So those are a couple of ideas that I believe would help bring about a government for the people. We need to work with the people we represent, and that means meeting with them. We need to not take from them what we don't need. And we also need to make sure that we aren't voting for our own pay increases and for our own retirement packages that the vast majority of the American people have no access to. This includes insurance benefits. This includes pension. This includes salary. It is time for the United States government to realize that they are servants of the people of the United States. One of the things that I would be asking you to do is to please write the person or call the person that you're supporting in this 2014 election and ask them if they can get on board with this plan. I believe that this will make great strides in the way things are going, and I believe that you will agree with me. So I would love to have you guys go ahead and get a hold of those candidates and those who may even be incumbents that you support, and tell them that you want this kind of a plan, and then have them get a hold of me. You guys know where my website is. It is www.craig4congress.org. Have them send me an email. Have them tell me I'm on board. We'll get together and we'll write this legislation. We'll work together for you. And that's the way that it should be. So let's do this. And while you guys are making those calls, I'm also going to be trying to get a hold of them. I'm going to be trying to get them on board with this plan, because I think that 2014 could be the year where we start turning America around. But it's going to take involvement. It's going to take involvement from you. It's going to take involvement from me. And it's going to take involvement from those other congressmen and senators. We need to work together to bring about the solutions that America really needs. And this is one step in the right direction. I hope that you'll join with me in voicing your concerns over the government not being for the people right now. So there's your basic outline. If you have any questions, concerns, if you want to know where I stand on an issue, please send me an email. You can click the link under my contact page. Send me that email, and I will respond to you. I will let you know where I stand on that issue and what I'm going to do to fight for your liberty and your pursuit of happiness. I don't care if you're in the state of Utah or not. Every single American is going to be influenced by the policies I enact, and I recognize that I have followers from outside of the state of Utah. So regardless of where you live, please contact me. And I will make a promise to you. I will also try to get a hold of your congressman to try to get them to answer you as well. Go to www.craig4congress.org. Send me those questions. And if you want something that you'd like to hear on air, go ahead and let me know. I'd be more than happy to get your question or your concern out there publicly. Let's get these issues addressed, and let's make America a better place. I'm signing off. My name is Craig Bowden, your Marine vet for freedom. Thank you and God bless.